Hello, and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Denise Collision with SHI International, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDOIQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Bojan Duric. He is the Chief Data Officer of the City of Virginia Beach. Welcome, Bojan. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thanks for having me, and definitely looking forward for some discussion to have.
Excellent. Well, I'd love it if you could just start off telling us a little bit about yourself. Maybe a little bit about your career journey and how you've ended up at Virginia Beach, and just some background.
Okay, so let me just focus, because then we're gonna go like a whole interview is gonna be just that. But in any case, let me just where I'm coming from, from the standpoint of my career development and all of that. So basically, I like to consider myself being an everyday learner. So that's the nice way of saying being a nerd. Today is pretty cool to be a nerd, but when I was actually starting, that was kind of challenging. Let's put it this way. So how the career progressed, it was me doing some math and computer science, imagining to work in some software development, creating the new stuff, and ending up actually working in Excel sheets as the data analyst. And it took me 15 years of just progressing from the data analyst to some point to data scientist, which was my biggest progression, but everything I did didn't change. So what I'm trying to say with the data, everything is fluid. It can go horizontally. I will probably go back on that. And most of us data practitioners and leaders, as a matter of fact, grew and evolved as the businesses are growing, and the data needs and the recognition of data as the asset actually became the topic. And then we attract the talents. But most of us started as one-man show, ending up to having multiple people with different roles, which emerged in the last, I would say, 5 years.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So being that you're a nerd, using your own word, is there a book that you've read or that you're currently reading that has been really instrumental in your learning, or that you've just enjoyed a lot that you want to tell us about?
So basically, not the one that is instrumental when I did it, but I recently read a book that, as a matter of fact, reflected all the values and everything I see. And it was kind of like aha moment pretty at the end. And I was like, you know what, as a matter of fact, maybe I did professionally and personally develop myself to be where I am now because I followed those principles. And the book is, let me just remind myself, I think it's it's Greg Orme, and it's The Human Edge. And the whole book is about the creativity and curiosity as the superpower of the digital economy. The book is like how AI, why we shouldn't be afraid of the AI, but as a matter of fact, see where we can leverage the AI and find what's as the human superpower, as I said, creativity and curiosity. So both of them are kind of strike me when I was actually choosing career where to be, why I actually picked maybe those fields.
Well, I love that message. I think that there's probably a lot of people who do not associate creativity and curiosity with data, the data field. But there very much is a component of creativity and curiosity around asking the right questions.
Exactly.
And looking at the data in a specific way, right? So that's really
absolutely
cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So I want to just jump in, and we're going to be talking about some talent, because right now, I mean, really every industry, every job, we're struggling with talent market. But certainly in such an emerging field as data, there are a lot more openings for people in the data sciences, data analytics, than there are people who are qualified to do those jobs. So I want to just jump in and ask you a couple of questions about that. So really, like I said, talent acquisition is just a major topic for all organizations. So I'd love it if you can talk a little bit about how you go about finding great talent for your organization. And then as a follow-up question, talk about how you cultivate that talent also from within the organization.
Good question. So just to go back on when introductory was regarding the new roles that they're emerging and coming from one-man show to multiple roles and responsibilities, actually to be the team. That was, as a matter of fact, challenge by itself. Start defining the roles and responsibilities. And as I said, I'm going to maybe mention that a couple of times, the data flows horizontally, rise vertically, so it touching many points. So the roles and responsibility at some point might not be clear. The other thing that I, from the public sector, government sector, can see is the one of the biggest talent is the attracting the challenge is attracting the talent. So as the nonprofit, I know it's hard to compete with the commercial sector, but at the same time, when you actually hire and you get that, retain that talent, there is a great, I would say, rewarding, like satisfaction. So the key in our, at least from the public sector perspective, I think it's like finding the purpose, like giving what's the meaningful and giving that opportunity to actually make the direct impact on the people that they are, especially us from the local government. That's what I love. So things that we do, we see it, like not just like as the corporations would do, like I'm seeing that from the residents' perspective, my neighbors, my friends, and all of that. So direct impact. The other thing is like how you actually can. I think you said like cultivate the talent and all of that.
Yes.
So a couple of things that we as public sector are kind of like different, and I'm coming from the commercial sector, private sector definitely, and there are still strong cultural effects that from that perspective that you can bring. It's the finding the purpose. I know it's lots of talk about these days, what's your purpose, but that's, I believe, the biggest challenge when you actually go to the government, the public sector, to ask you, your team, what's our purpose, and then start actually saying how you can attract that talent is, as a matter of fact, find them the purposeful job work that they do. So that's that's definitely the challenge. The other thing that I'm seeing from the cultivating the talent is like where you go, as you said, you're touching as the data many points within the organization. The local government, I always said, it's the federal government in small. So basically we have the different organization. As a matter of fact, we call them business unit, department, or community of interest, which are by design siloed, but at the same time they kind of like almost like sister companies. They act together on some of them. So from that perspective is like how we can attract and in each and every business units and retain those talents, if you may. So one if you go horizontally would be, I would say, upskilling. That's the challenge that we're seeing, and the other one is going to be, if you are upskilling, identify the hard skills that some of them already have, so they are easy to evolve into the new ones that you need. So for example, what we did successfully internally was it was not even upskilling how much was like a little bit with direction. We had a strong on-prem presence, so our DBAs, our full-time DBAs, lots of SQL skills, and I would say the administrative skills mindset, and us actually going a little bit toward the newly evolved data engineering roles. For these roles was kind of natural progression, just giving them opportunity to work on those meaningful, purposeful projects in the new environment. So learn, push, and you take the ownership of that. On the second, I would say it was going like, how you can go like when you rise, where that talent, because you don't have direct impact on this, you can only influence. So how you can make the business units that they are completely independent, budget, business, and all of that, influence them to be and kind of like row at the same pace in the same direction. So that requires, as a matter of fact, lots of, I would say, knocking at the doors, introducing yourself, showing the value, etc., and making sure that, as a matter of fact, you have that like almost evangelistical approach. Like let me find the followers who can actually follow what I'm, and let me be as simple as possible that they can, as a matter of fact, follow what I'm trying to do. So it is the challenge, definitely, and we didn't solve it. Let's put it this way, but we are working on it, and each and every day when we retain a talent and find something pretty exciting that we work with, we kind of like celebrate that success.
Yeah. Well, you as a leader have a reputation of finding great talent, but more importantly, retaining them and cultivating them. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of things right there in Virginia Beach. One of the things that you said that really kind of resonated with me, especially as a local government leader, is making sure that the talent, whether it's from within or external talent that you're trying to recruit, understands the why. And you're right. I think the purpose gets tossed around a lot these days. But really, when you're in a government organization, that purpose is so right in front of you. I thought that was super poignant, that you can see the product of your work in your neighbors, in your community centers, in your services that you're providing, in the life and livelihoods of the people that are living and working in the same community as you. So I think that's a really important differentiator that you have in a local government organization over a commercial organization. So I think that was really poignant. You started to get into my next question, and maybe you have, I don't know if you do or not, but we'll ask it anyway. My next question was, okay, you've gotten the talent in the door. How do we as leaders show up better and create a place where they all want to stay? So you've already kind of discussed about upskilling, which is really top of mind for our employees these days. And again, that's across all organizations. And then you also, I think, made a really great point about making sure that they have access to those really meaningful and important projects that you're working on. Are there other things that as leaders specifically we can be doing to encourage our talent to feel more connected to the mission and the purpose and then stay with the organization longer?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, that actually did touch a little bit on the how what we need as the leaders to do. And one crucial thing I think, like at least from our perspective, we don't lack the technology. Let's put it this way: technology is there. The only thing that we might lack is the inspiration of those challenging and impactful projects to actually keep your employees proud, happy, busy, and all of that productive, like working toward that. So that's one of the challenges. But how to get there is like, at least how we are trying to do on our case, is to encourage that like safe experimental space and learning space. So where you feel the safe among your peers to make the mistake, to even maybe look fool at some point. But as a matter of fact, not to be afraid to try something to do. So not being afraid of failure, but as a matter of fact, just take it as some kind of like stepping stone to something new that's going to evolve. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do to create that safe environment. We do have something that was from upskilling. We call it Data Academy. That was one of the first things we did. It was the upskilling process. It was nothing, I would say, rigorous. How much is like to bring the comfort level so the people feel comfortable. The second piece was to start identifying who could be those data champions that we can attract. So out of that, like graduates, alumni, however you call them, we created something, we call it Data Smart Collective, which we envision to be the community. And we are, I would say, in the city, one of the informal group. We are 300 plus people strong. So I think it's one of the most active group within the city across all the organization comes. And we kind of like leverage some modern skills and modern technologies and everything, like just to keep us kind of like connected. And that's one of the things what we as the leaders need to do, provide that space to connect. Like I was always kind of like surprised how we adopted, let's say, social media at home to communicate, to do everything else, but we kind of don't do that at work and do the same. So that was kind of like aha moment. And then we start doing how we can do that to create that community, especially we are remote. Many of us, it's like need to connect, have that feeling of belonging. So those are all the things that we as leaders need to create. And that starts with us. So I might go back even on some of the things like what I do even in Data Academy. I think on the TED Talk and YouTube, there is the first follower type of the leadership. So it was one of the things that I kind of share, and I'm saying, you know what, let us be the first followers. It is okay to be the follower. that's the type of the leadership. So everybody is imagining leadership to be different and all of that, but that could be the new type of the leadership, which we are kind of like encouraging our members of Data Smart Collective to be one. So,
well, I have to tell you, Bojan, I really enjoyed this conversation. There's so many nuggets of wisdom. So I just wanted to say thank you for joining me today. And for all those listening, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.
Thank you.